Hey, folks, welcome to the pre-show. Good to see you. This is Scotty Roberts, if you don't know that already. And we got about 4.5 minutes to kill before we actually hit air. And so this is what we do. For anybody new coming in, this is what we do. And by the way, if anybody's worried about it, looks like I wear the same thing every day. I got about 12 of these black V-neck t-shirts. So I'm on my last one, so it's time to do laundry now. So there you go. Hey, Matthew Sainsbury, you're here. There's only 2 in the chat right now. Yeah, that should, now there's 3. I don't know who the third is. But hitting the chat, it's Barbie D. Good to see you, Barbie D. Hey, Sarah Yusuf. Good to see you as well. And so we're just getting set up. We're at 9:01. I can hit this. And Betsy Richardson, I see you over there. You can't call in right now because we're going to start the radio show. So sorry about that. Boom. And I'm not even sure who you are. So I got to kick you out of the studio. Boom. So be prepared, everybody, for a little nonsense. When I start seeing those video chat requests coming in to come on screen, you're usually going to find that there's people who are going to mess with the chat room tonight. Don't pay them any, never mind. Just let them be. We can also block them if we have to. So anyway. So not sure who Betsy Richardson is. Nobody I know off the top of my head. Betsy, if you're still listening, if you're a real person, come on into the chat room. And there she is again. Betsy, I see your icon out there in the window. Go into the chat room, introduce yourself to everybody. Our moderators will take a look at you. And I'm not going to take a call during the live radio show, which starts in 2 minutes. So afterwards, if you're still around and the moderators approve you, we can bring you in. That's all. You're looking automated, like trolling automation right now. So I'm going to kick you again. Boom. Bye. And so there you go. Yeah, nonsense. There's some of these people come in and they try to ask stupid questions. They try to distract. It's what they do. They do it for fun. So that's how they have fun. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Damn, Elizabeth Richardson, how you doing? Good to see you over there in the chat room. You can't come in now. I don't take any callers into the studio at this point in the show, nor during the radio portion of the show. If you want to stick around till I didn't say you were doing anything wrong. I'm just letting you know how it works here. We don't take anybody in. We don't take any calls during the radio show. We will in the after show, though, an hour from now. So stick around. If you're still around, you want to come in and chat, we can line that up. So that's it. So you didn't do anything wrong. Don't worry. Don't fret. But stick around, listen to the show. Maybe you'll have some input in the after show. All right, guys, we've got about 40 seconds, and we go live on the radio show. Yeah, going dark for a little bit. Well, that's pretty cool, Elizabeth. Maybe we'll get a chance. You can type some of your things. I do mention the chat room during the show. Some of the comments, we'll put them up. But if you want to talk, we'll do that after the show, in the after show. All right. We're at 9 seconds after. I'm going to go dark, and we'll be back. So everybody sit tight.
Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent talk.
Hey folks, welcome to the Intrepid radio program. I am, as always, your host, Scotty Roberts, right here on Odyssey Radio. And you can listen to the audio version of this from the radio station over at odysseyradio.com. And the Odyssey is spelt slightly differently, ODYSY radio.com. Go on over and listen there. You can see all the goodness that's Odyssey Radio. At the same time, we broadcast this in simulcast 4 different places in video. 3 of them on Facebook. The Odyssey page at Facebook, the Intrepid Radio page at Facebook, and also my personal page, Mr.Scotty.Roberts, over on Facebook. And, of course, the YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Scotty Roberts. And if you're new here, you are welcome to subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can hit thumbs up if you like the show. You can, if you don't like the show, you can skip the thumbs down if you want. Also, you can subscribe, like, and join the channel if you'd like to. If you'd like to contribute a little bit to the upkeep of this broadcast, you can do that right there on YouTube. So that's it. That's our introductory matter for tonight. I appreciate you being here. We're going to keep talking about the jinn. But tonight, even though there are weeks of information of radio shows that we could fill with information about the jinn, different writings about the jinn, different stories of the jinn, all of that, we could do that. But I want you to be intrigued and interested. I don't want to gloss your eyes over after 5 days and have you go, oh boy, we're doing another show on the jinn. Tomorrow night, we're going to talk about ghouls, which actually has very similar source points. And Sarah can even tell you a little bit over in the, you're ginned out, Sarah. You got to stop drinking, you lush. So different jinn, I realize. So I want to thank you all for being here, taking your time to come in here and be here. Before we get into talking a little more in depth about the jinn, I wanted to talk tonight about the jinn and how they behave, actions, behavior, and so on. And we're going to kind of end the series on that for now. We can pick up and talk about jinn anytime we want. But something I've got here, which is kind of interesting, maybe you'll find it interesting. It's one of those cute little internet sites that has the 10 scariest stories in haunted houses, or, the 10 most famous car accidents, or whatever. It's a site like that, but it's from BuzzFeed News, and it's Ahmed from BuzzFeed, and he's the host of See Something, Say Something. It's a BuzzFeed podcast. He says, where we drink chai, tell stories, and talk about what it feels like to be a Muslim in America. So it might be an interesting show for you. And he put up this little article where he asked for people to submit their scary jinn stories. And jinn, D''Jinn, or JANN, or JINN, or JINI. However you look at it, all the same thing. So, hey, Uncle Dave Potter over in the chat room. Good to see you. And everybody else coming in. Master Finn, good to see you, Master and Commander. So here's a couple of things that got put up. He goes through describing what jinn are and so on in his articles. But what I want to see are his stories. And he puts up some of these stories. We won't read them all, but we'll hit these. Let's see if these are the scariest jinn stories that are out there. The first one is called The Fight. He said, now, pardon me, I got to put on my glasses. You don't see that on radio, but in the chat room you do, or in the channels you do. One time, my mother-in-law was sitting in her bed. She looked over and saw a woman sitting in the chair next to her bed with long, pointy fingers and a face with a very sharp angles. She was so frustrated and annoyed with the jinns they see a lot in their house and they're no longer afraid, just really annoyed by them, that she reached out and grabbed the djinn by its wrist. She yelled, "Get out!" Now there's a change for you. Instead of a spirit being or something saying, "Get out," she yells, "Get out!" to the djinn. "I'm tired of you. Get out." It started to try to pull its wrist away and eventually tried to bite her hand because she wouldn't let go. She pulled her hand away before it bit her, and then the djinn vanished. Short story by Sakina Blue. Second story that's in here, and I'm just going to rattle through a few of these so you can get current day djinn stories. The Djinn in the Locket, this one is called. At my boarding school, we had a few cases of bullying. In one instance, a bully broke a chain on a student's neck. As soon as that happened, the girl started to speak in a male voice while her body contorted in strange positions. It said that it was a djinn and had traveled from a faraway place. Meanwhile, the bully's tongue swelled and almost prevented her from breathing. Long story short, teachers were called into the room. Apparently, her parents knew and had gotten the chain for their daughter from a shaman to hold the djinn at bay. There you go. That's another story. Maybe in the after show, Matthew Sainsbury, you can come into the captain's cabin and and you can tell your story. Let's see. The third one is communing with children. Now, these are supposed to be some of the scariest djinn stories out there. So you see what you think and you gauge some of these. And by the way, will you shut that downstairs door for me? Small children yelling in the background. Ellery, shut the door, please. Sorry, folks. Familial interlude in the studio. So this happened when my grandfather was Egypt's ambassador to Spain and was living in Spain. I was 2 years old at that time. My mother said she would see me standing by the staircase, constantly talking to someone, and when she would put me to bed, I would stare out the door and say, "Tech tack, tech tack." Later on, my grandmother mentioned to my mom that she thinks I might be seeing spirits in the house. And when we were talking about it, my grandfather said that the TV in his room would turn on and off sporadically and sometimes could see shadows running across the balcony through the slits of the blinds. So far, that sounds like just a paranormal story, things that we've all encountered if you do any of that kind of research. She says, my grandmother said that it's known little children and animals can see spirits. So when they saw me talking to something, they assumed there were spirits in the house. And I was the only one who could communicate with them. Now, that's her whole story. Don't know if that's Jinn's story, but there it is. There was another one, of hooves. This is an old Persian story. So this is an old story, not a current one. One day, a lady goes to the public bathhouse. She pays the attendant and goes inside. Once inside, she notices someone in the room with her. She looks down at their feet, but instead of feet, the person has, you guessed it, hooves. The lady freaks out and runs outside as fast as she can. She rushes to the attendant and tells her that she saw someone with hooves instead of feet. The attendant looks at her, lifts up her skirt, and asks, "Like these?" That's an old Persian story. So we'll do a couple of more of these, and then we'll get into our stuff for tonight. The third story seems the most believable. Yeah, that's more a paranormal story, that third one where the little child is seeing something, communicating with something. You see shadow figures, stuff like that. So here's one, the busybody. I grew up in an Arab household with many Arab family friends, so I heard many stories about scary jinn. A family friend of mine claimed that she went to bed one night and her whole house was a mess. By the time she woke up, her whole house was clean. For some reason, that freaked me out when I was little. Every night I made sure that my room was clean so that jinns wouldn't clean it for me. Nowadays, being a wife and a full-time college student, I could only pray that a jinn would clean my house for me. And what the heck, cook dinner as well. So there's her story. Next one is the Night Whispers. A few years ago, when I was on my third trimester of pregnancy, I would only be able to fall asleep when dawn came. Just as I was about to fall asleep one night, I felt pressure on the end of the bed, near my feet, as if someone very heavy sat on the bed, which was weird because I didn't even hear anyone come into my room. No creaking floor, no footsteps. Just then, an eerie voice spoke straight into my mind. The language was unintelligible and distorted. I knew it wasn't human, but to my surprise, I understood what it was trying to say. My brain processed it easily, as if I had learned the language somewhere in the past. It asked me to pray my morning prayer. I was too sleepy and too scared to actually open my eyes. What if its face was suddenly right in front of my nose? So I responded in my head, communicating without actually opening my mouth to say a word. Later, please. I'm so tired. I didn't get to sleep. After I said so, the weight on the end of my bed lifted. The air, which was previously heavy with presence, became light and clear. I opened my eyes a little and saw the earliest morning light gleam through my window. My door stood still. No one came in or out, and I fell back to sleep. Let's see. There's a couple of other that might be interesting. We're at 16 minutes past the hour. Let's do one or two more of these. Let's see how they play out. The landlord. So apparently in Saudi, my aunt lived in a house that was always being visited by a particular jinn who used to annoy her family. Once she was laying in bed at night with her husband, she felt that something was off, and when she left the room, she found her husband watching TV on the sofa. When they went back to the bedroom to confront the jinn, it just laughed and went away. Not much of a story there, but that's interesting. Let's see. An excerpt, this one says. Generations back, one of my forefathers taught Quran, the holy book, to a child from a jinn, the child of a jinn's family. The jinn child became a hafiz, memorized the Quran by heart. The jinn's parents, what is a hafiz? Sarah, over in the chat room. If you know what that is, let us know. Hafiz, Hafiz. The jinn's parents appeared in front of my grandfather, and in return, as a thanks, they offered him many things. There were huge trays of gold and silver were brought or whatnot, but he would not accept it. He said, I did this because I believe I will be rewarded by Allah. And they wouldn't go. The jinn said, you have done such a big favor to our generations that we want to give you something. After so many arguments, they wouldn't go. So my grandfather said, okay, then what I would like to ask you is that you have to take an oath and promise me that for my next 7 generations, you would not hurt anyone or make anyone's life miserable. That's the end of that story. Oh, a memorizer of the Quran. All right. That's what a Hafiz is. It says in parentheses, Hafiz memorized the Quran by heart. There you go. We'll do one last one. It's called the Territorial Jinn. My great uncle went to visit his cousins in India. His cousins told him that since it was summertime, and they would all sleep in the courtyard together. However, they told him he wasn't allowed to place his bedding in a particular corner. Apparently, a jinn slept there, and strange things happened if anyone disturbs that corner. My great uncle said it was nonsense, and he decided to sleep there anyway. Isn't that the way it always is? I always tell somebody, don't sleep on that sofa in the corner because that's where the jinn likes to hang out, or the ghost, or the whatever. And he's like, nonsense, I'm going to sleep there anyway. Okay, suit yourself. One night, he woke up on the other side of the court. He laughed at first and thought it was his cousins who were pranking him and decided to sleep there again. The following night, the same thing happened, so he left a note next to his pillow saying, stop pranking me. I know there is no jinn. That night, he said he was pushed off of his bed and his bedding was thrown on the other side. A note was thrown into his lap which read, "I sleep here." The scary part is it wasn't that dark and there was no one else there. There you go. There's some of the, according to this author at BuzzFeed. And if you want to look him up and hear his podcast, Ahmed Ali Akbar. And he's with the See Something, Say Something is his podcast through BuzzFeed News. So you can look him up. So there you go. That's what that's all about. Now, let's get into continuing and tonight ending. You're going to feel like, oh, thank God we're coming to the end of the Jinn series. I want to hear some new topics after 5 episodes on this. But when we're at the end of this, you're going to go, oh, what happens next? What do we do now? Please, more gin. And I'll pour you a shot. So we're looking at by their deeds, the jinn behavior. Fethullah Gulen, who's an Islamic scholar, said this: it might be a good idea for medical authorities to consider whether jinn cause certain types of cancer, since cancer is an unordered and diseased growth in the body that we describe as a kind of cellular anarchy. Maybe some jinn have settled in that part of the body and are destroying its cellular structure. Okay, that's his take on it. We don't know. We talked about that a bit last night. Are there what we would consider superstitions and supernatural that can actually affect certain things about us, our health, and so on? I think yes. Is that the cause of these things? I don't know. I have to say I don't know because I don't know. Now, the title I've given tonight's show, By Their Deeds, this is really from, I'm referring to a known quote from the Gospel of Matthew in the New Testament. In Matthew 7:16, he says, by their deeds you shall know them. Now, I never thought of that as being related to the jinn. Now, the evangelist himself, Matthew, wasn't referring to the jinn with that verse, though he does mention demons or sometimes evil jinn on the other occasions. But his turn of phrase is very applicable to jinn behavior. And there's a little note I've got here. Let's see if I can find it for you. Nope. My note, I didn't keep it the right way. So sorry about that. So no note there. The turn of phrase is applicable to jinn behavior is all that I'm saying. And that's why I used it. Now, jinn are known by their actions, which are generally pretty easy to identify. And among other things, they're reputed to haunt houses. When we say that they would sometimes hide in the old ruins in Egypt and some of the Arabic countries off the desert, they would go in and not hide like I'm secure, I'm hiding myself, but they would go dwell there in the doorways and so on. And so to say that they haunt houses isn't a stretch. Among other things, they haunt houses, abandoned buildings, all places that seem to be dark, dank, and deep, which would seem a really shitty place to want to hang out to me when you think about it. Mostly because I would wonder that if a jinn has personality, if a jinn is a person, an individual, as we found they are, why would they want to hang out in the dark, dank, dirty places? I don't understand that. Sarah Yusuf says in the chat room that they reside in unfrequented places. Yes, Matthew, you're right. Some translations say, by their fruits you shall know them, or their actions. They're bearing the fruit of what they do. Exactly. Sarah says also they exhibit human behavior. And not all Islamic scholars are considered equal, she says. I get that. Same with Christian, Jewish, and scientific scholars, too. So they reside in these unfrequented places. So maybe it's not that they're drawn to dark and dank nastiness or anything like that, like gloomy cellars, but That's where they are. They're drawn to those places. They stay away from them, or they reside in them. They guard hidden treasures, it is said, is some of their actions. They guard lost cities. They can shapeshift into animal forms and back again. They can vanish into thin air, and they can reappear just as easily. They possess bodies of living human beings, like a demon possession in a way, but they can possess those, like the one story we heard the one Muslim young woman talk about when the chain was broken off, that chain was meant to bind the jinn from doing anything wrong. They possess the bodies of living human beings, speaking and acting through them and afflicting them with diseases, both physical and mental. I like Sarah's notes because she's got a real finger on the pulse of this. That's why I like bringing a lot of her comments in here. She says in the chat room, cleanliness is one of the major things about Islamic cultures. Cleanliness brings one close to godliness. Yes, and I had experienced that in Egypt with my Muslim friends, and I had Muslim friends many years ago that they were very meticulous about the washing of hands and so on. And so yes, there's that methodical cleanliness that is a part of the Islamic culture. Some jinn behaviors, such as the guarding of ruins or shifting shapes, these are common to both the good and the evil jinn. It's a characteristic, a trait, if you will, an attribute, perhaps. And other actions such as terrorizing humans, subjecting them to diseases and illnesses. These are performed by notoriously evil categories of the fire spirits. The shaitans, which we talked about the other night, where we get our word Satan, shaitan. The ifrits and the marids, as well as some of the more specialized jinn types, such as the ghouls. Tomorrow night, we're not talking about jinn, but we're going to talk about the ghouls. How about that? See what I did there? Still talking about the jinn tomorrow night, but in a different way, different category. The ghouls, what we call ghouls, and what's been watered down in our understanding of things. And so you have these evil ghouls. And we're going to look at, the first thing I'm going to do is look at Amid the Ancient Ruins and what they do there. But again, I want to see what Sarah is putting up here. Ghouls are jinn. She said yes with a smiley face. I know. That's why I told people we're going to stop the jinn series now and we're going to move on to ghouls. Because I only use that word, Sarah, because over in the chat room, because people are familiar with the word ghoul, but they've never associated that with jinn before. So it'll be interesting. We're going to call the show something about ghouls. Sarah also says, in modern hauntings, why do you think that some spirits reside in attics or basements? Places where people don't frequent, don't have human energy thrown around. There it is. And that's probably why you have this going on, because they want to separate themselves from that connection and that activity. And I just have to say, hey, Michelle Canham Free over in the chat room, welcome. And everybody else who's coming in, welcome from all the different locations where you can watch or listen to this show. Remember, after the show tonight, we're going to have the Captain's Cabin. That's our little after show. It's the afterglow of what we do. That's when we go off air at the radio station and we stick around here on the YouTube channel and the other channels. And you know what I think I'm going to do? Something a little different. Something I haven't done for a while. It's the bottom of the hour. Let's just have a little commercial break. What do you think about that? It's my own ad. So here we go.
Are you looking for a really awesome and amazing graphic designer? How about an illustrator or a photographer? This is Rainey Roberts, and I wanted to tell you how you can get my designer, illustrator husband, Scotty Roberts, to work for you on your project. Do you have an awesome self-published book but no cover, or even worse, a cover that really sucks? Do you need a kick-ass logo for your company or some f***ing awesome graphic designs for your ads or website? Then get in touch with my husband for the best f***ing awesome kick-ass design and illustration. He knows his stuff, and he's been at this for more years than I've been alive. Go to ScottAllenRoberts.com. That's Scott with 2 T's, ALANROBERTS.com to take a look at his online portfolio of work, or call 651-468-8115. Now go out and kick some ass with some kick-ass graphic design.
Hire my dad so he can take me to Disneyland.
You're listening to the Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent Talk.
Hey, welcome back to the program, folks. I'm Scotty Roberts, your host, right here on my show, the Intrepid radio program. Come on over to the chat room, join all the Intrepids that are talking up a storm over there. And why, thank you, Sarah Yusuf. Yeah, I should design board games. I've done a couple already for people, for clients. I've got one that I want to do for myself. I think it could be pretty intense. I talked to my agent about it. She's all for it. We just have to do it. So we're back. Thank you for sticking around through that couple of minutes. As Alfred Hitchcock would always say in his show, our sponsors. And I don't sound anything like Alfred Hitchcock. So thank you for coming back. Thank you for being here. Let's jump right back into this. On the gin, we were going to start talking about the ancient ruins, mid-ancient ruins. And those of you who are watching this, got to put my glasses on tonight. My eyes are fuzzy tonight. The jinn are often associated with all the crumbling castles, the hidden treasure hoards, the lost cities. They haunt old, abandoned, what would you call it? Ruins is what they do. Old, abandoned ruins. My notes are jumping all over on me, and I don't know why. Hang on a second. That's a little technical glitch. What's it doing there? Hang on. I don't know why it's doing that. It's jumping all over the place on me. There we go. So they haunt old abandoned buildings. They serve as guardians for treasure. That's interesting. I've heard stories, and some of the stories I've read about men meeting the jinn in an abandoned ruin place, but they're guarding hordes of treasure. They've been set up or appointed to guard. Jinn interference. Yeah, there you go, Sarah. Maybe that was it. My notes were just like popping all over the place, and I'd click to stop it and go back to the former screen I was on, and it would pop back again, then go 3 pages ahead. So it was weird. Jinn interference. Jinn, if you are around, I'm treating you well. I'm just talking about who you are. So they guard all these hidden treasures, the lost cities, treasures that are concealed in ruins, things like that. Now, there's an ancient Arabian legend that tells of jinn who guard an immense treasure hidden in the Hijaz region. Hijaz or Hijaz, I don't know how it's exactly pronounced, Hejaz, of present-day Saudi Arabia. Now, British explorer Charles Doty, he reputed to be the first European to visit the Nabatean ruins of Madain Salih and the cities of Salih, a pre-Islamic prophet, also called Al-Hijr, Al-Hijr, H-I-J-R, Al-Hir or Hijr, and the stony place it's called. So anyway, in the Hijaz region in the late 19th century, he referred specifically to this legend. Now, I want you to hear this legend that he talks about. Hey, Roger Rabbit in the chat room. Good to see you, brother. He says this. He writes this. This is Charles Doty, a British explorer. He says, upon the landmark rock, El Hawara, in the plain of Madain Salih, lies a great treasure, in the opinion of the Moors of the Kella, sealed in a turret-like stone chamber. In the keeping of an Efrit, evil genius loci, a word spoken of evil genius loci. I don't know what he means by that. A word spoken of the spirits of wicked men departed, which as flies to the dunghill haunt eternally about their places of burial. Okay, this is the Afrit he's talking about, I guess. Evil genius loci, Loci. No capital letter. He's not referring to the god loci. Not sure what he's talking about there. Anyway, this is an old piece written 100 years ago or more. He says, fatal, they say, were the taking up of that treasure. The kings of the world should strive together. The Arab tribes should destroy one another. In that day, a man will not spare his friend nor his brother, the son of his father and his mother. Thus Haj Najim have looked upon the Hawara cliff from the Hara and can affirm that the head of its plain, a black platform of lava, the sandstone precipices all around, are 100 fathoms in height. So there you go. Little harder to understand his context on everything. But even the Prophet Muhammad carefully avoided contact with the jinn who haunted the ruins of Al-Hijr, this place that this explorer is talking about. So in the words of Sir Richard Burton, not the actor, the explorer, he said, it is related that when the apostle of Allah passed through the demon-haunted defile of Medan Silla, that he veiled his head. The prophet did, Muhammad. He muffled his face. He hurried his pace on account of the jinn and the ghoul which infest it, forbidding his followers to halt there either for food or drink. And so another reason to hurry through this area, the ancient people of Medan Salih were punished by God for their impiety, and the tribes thought it best to avoid a locale thus stained with a history of sin like this. Sarah Yusuf says in our chat room, she says, Ifrits are very evil, powerful jinn who are known for their strength and their cunning. So these are not things to be trifled with. We seem to think, this is one thing I know I found in Christianity a lot, and sometimes amongst ghost hunters, paranormal investigators. In the power of Christ, I command you to fall to your knees. Oh, evil spirit, oh, evil demon, oh, evil jinn. They'll say things like that, but they don't know what they're messing with. That's the thing. You don't have power over something just by calling on the name of your deity of your faith. That doesn't always give you power over it. So I think that's an interesting point, Sarah, is that the Ifrits are very evil, powerful jinn who are known for their strength and their cunning. So Al-Hijr is Saudi Arabia's first World Heritage Site, and it was so designated in 2008 by UNESCO. It was a home to the Thamud people and the Nabateans. And according to the Quran, the people of the Al-Hijr rejected the message of God as conveyed to them by the prophets Salih and other messengers. And as a result, they were destroyed by a great blast in capital letters. It was put a great blast from heaven. Archaeologists say that the people of Al-Hijr disappeared, all of them, in about 400 to 600 AD. This is before Islam became a religion. And with the people gone, it was perhaps natural that the jinn would take over the site. Throughout pre-Islamic history, we hear of instances of this, such as where arrogance and pride leads to the fall. Pride leads to a fall, the destruction of a magnificent city, and the ruins subsequently revert to the custody of the jinn. And the Saudi government today encourages tourism at Medan Salih, the archaeological site, and it's got these majestic rock-cut tombs. Think of Petra, and it's kind of like that in a way. And other structures. It's the Saudi version of the more famous Nabatean ruins of Petra. Got that right here in my notes. To the north in Jordan. Nevertheless, some Saudis still fear the ruins are jinn haunted or cursed and will not visit the area. Now, it's interesting. I remember seeing, whatever you think of TV shows, Josh Gates. I always liked Josh Gates. I thought he was pretty genuine in his presentation of his adventures. And they spent the night doing paranormal investigation work at Petra. You're all familiar with Petra, I'm sure. And when they were there, they were sitting up on top of the ruins and with night vision cameras and stuff, and they saw the figure of a man in the night vision. And obviously, in a long, like a galabea, a long garment, and some kind of headdress. And he faded off around the corner, and they follow him. They're up on the roof or something of this thing, of the carved out, and there was nowhere for this guy to go. There was no path there, nowhere to stand, nowhere to sit. They thought they had caught something on film, so that's interesting. So they're fearing that these ruins, the Nabatean ruins, the Al-Hajib ruins, that all of these are cursed or jinn haunted. And they encourage you, a lot of these people will encourage you to not visit the area. And this is particularly true of the farmers and the villagers who have little contact with the outside world, and they feel the power of the venerable local jinn traditions. So this is very interesting stuff. Petra portals, says June Shasta over in the chat room. Yes. And so another legendary treasure trove was situated in the lost city of Ubar, or Iram of the Pillars, which belonged to the ancient tribe of Ad, A.D. It was an opulent city in a fertile oasis. Ubar and its inhabitants were destroyed by Allah in punishment for their sins. And early Arab history said that the jinn haunted the ruins of Ubar and protected its buried treasures. But where the lost city might be found was seriously disputed by archaeologists and historians. Some Arab chroniclers thought it could be found in the southwestern edge of the empty quarter or near Yemen. Others believe it was located close to Oman, Jordan. And in the east, Rub al-Khali. Just a decade ago, Los Angeles filmmaker Nicholas Clapp told the world that he and a team of fellow explorers had discovered this lost city on the southeastern edge of the empty quarter. I believe this is the same guy who said he also discovered the 50,000 strong army of Cambyses that disappeared in the western desert of Egypt. And Clapp and his team didn't actually discover Ubar, but they did find ruins of an old caravanserai and a fort where the caravans would camp out over the centuries, and a fort near the village of Shishur on the fringes of the desert in Oman. And they called it Ubar, but no treasures or signs of opulence were found there. So the search for the legendary city will doubtless continue on. Ubar, not to be confused with its sister city, Fubar. Ubar is one of the many names for this ancient Arabian city, which is said to have vanished beneath the sands, swallowed by the sands, like the armies of Cambyses. And the city was reputedly this major trading emporium at the intersection of trade routes in the empty quarter. And it was said to have existed from about 3000 BCE until the 1st century AD, or CE, if you prefer. And other names included Ad, Wabar, Wibar, Wubar, Irem, Iram, and Iram Dat al-Imad, or Iram of the Pillars. And that last name, by the way, is explicitly mentioned in the Quran. It says in the Quran 89:7, it says this: "Seest thou not how thy Lord dealt with the Ad people, in parentheses, of the city of Iram with lofty pillars, like the like of which were not produced in all the land?" So it's mentioned in the Quran writings. Early Arab chronicles said that the city was built by a powerful king named Saddad, son of Ad. Saddad, son of Ad, A.D., not O.D.D. And modeling the city on his vision of what paradise was supposed to look like, Shaddad ordered it constructed of gold and silver, according to legend of this city, in a place of stones. Its walls were studded with jewels. Now, I do know you can go to Saqqara. Remember where I took the picture and I got the image of whatever that character is, that person is, if it's a jinn or a spirit. There is the entryway, the City of the Dead, there at Saqqara. And there's niches all over the stone walls that are empty now. They used to be filled with these rectangular plates of gold with inscriptions on them, and they filled all the walls of this big monumental city entryway. Enormous, by the way. And so this is what they did. These signs of opulence everywhere there. And so the city that Shaddad ordered it constructed of gold and silver in place of stones, and its walls were studded with jewels. Ubar featured 100,000 palaces supported by great pillars made of ruby and aquamarine. And the city was filled with orchards and gardens to complete Shaddad's picture of paradise. Now, his arrogance in trying to recreate paradise was his undoing. On his way to inspect his new city, a great sandstorm overcame him, and his entourage, as well as the king and the new city, were swallowed up by the sands, never to be inhabited or seen again. It's like an El Dorado type of a city. Momin Saad! Hello, Momin Saad, over in the chat room. Momin is a dear friend of mine, an archaeologist. He's the, I don't know if I get your title right, but I mentioned him the other night when we were talking. Momin Saad is the, I got your title wrong, I'm sure, but the Inspector General of Karnak Temples in, I've got to do a sidetrack here, in Luxor, the Karnak Temple Complex. And he's an archaeologist. I sat with him for a month on a boat while we were working at the big boat, the Dahabea, at Gebel El Silsila, our friend John and Maria Ward's site. And Momin Saad is somebody I mentioned to you the other night when we were all talking on this radio show. And so, Momin, it's a great honor, and it does my heart really well to see you here tonight. General Director of Antiquities Unit in Luxor Airport. Now, oh, there you go. Boom. So, Momin Saad from Egypt. Say hello to Momin, everyone. He says Jinn and Shaitan is created by Allah when he created man. There you go. He's the public can create stories as American films, but who sees them? There you are. Full circle, Sarah. There it is. So welcome. I'm almost giddy that you're here, Momin. It's good to see your face in a picture and to see you here in the chat room. I miss your face, my brother. So, boy, he's somebody I need to get on this show. Momin, put that on your back burner somewhere. I'd like to get you on the show and talk with you on this show. Thank you for being here. It's your honor. It's my honor. Okay, we've only got about 6 minutes left of this show before we go into the after show, before we go off air. So let me see if there are a couple of other things that I want to bring up, because we're going to really end officially our little mini series on the jinn tonight, but we're going to pick it up with the ghoul tomorrow night, which is actually still jinn. I might be able to get him in the cabin. Momin Saad, if you are around for about another 5 or 10 minutes and could call into this show, we can put you on camera. We can talk a little bit if you've got the time. Let's see, over there in Egypt right now, it's quite late. It's about 3 or 4 in the morning over there. So it's quite early, perhaps. I will put this in Momin, If you see this, I'm going to paste it into the chat room here. You are over in the Facebook. Sure, he says. That's great. Here we go. There is the link. If you click on that link or copy it and paste it into your browser, you can call into my show. But wait till we go off air on the radio, and I'll give you the high sign and say, now's the good time. So let's see. Let me go back to where we were. And I've got to wrap this now, believe it or not, because we're coming close to the end of the show. According to legend, the jinn did all this. They took possession of the land where Ubar had stood. Strange jinn creatures called the Nisnas, or the half-persons, roamed the land. They were beings with only half a head, one eye, one hand, one leg. No man would dare enter this territory. And the Nisnas destroyed all the crops that had previously grown there. The Nisnas were alternatively described as a special type of jinn, or as the former inhabitants of Ubar, who were punished by Allah by being transformed into monstrosities. And incidentally, the camels of the Mahra tribe of eastern Yemen and western Oman are said to have descended from the camels of the jinn who took possession of the ruins of Ubar. Yeah, it's all scary stuff, kind of. And folks, I'm going to encourage you, if you're listening, whatever format you're in, my friend Momin Saad is going to come in. Dr. Saad is going to come in the after show, and we're going to chat with him a little bit. So, according to the British Orientalist and the Arabian Nights translator, Edward Lane, Nisnas were also found in the forests of Yemen. You don't think of Yemen as having forests because it's desert. But in the 9th century, one was captured, he says, and it was brought alive to the Abbasid Caliph al-Mutawakkil. Al-Mutawakkil Caliph in Baghdad. And the Nisnas was said to resemble a man in form, except that it only had half a face, which was embedded in its chest. These were like the Blemmy, which you see in other mythologies and legends. John Ward wrote something about and did some presentations on the Blemmy. And there's these characters that have, if you look up my book cover on one of my websites, my art sites, the book cover for the 10 Breaths of Ra, the illustration I did, you'll see the Blemmies in the background. They have headless, and they had their faces in their chests and big mouths and arms and legs and so on. So now this is the Nisna. They were said to resemble a man in form, half the face. He was embedded in its chest and a tail like a sheep. Lane said that the people of Yemeni region of Hadramaut haunted and ate the Nisnas, and they reported its flesh was sweet to the taste. The creature was said to be found only in that country, and Lane tells of unidentified man, probably British, who visited Yemen and affirmed that he personally saw this captured Nisna, which cried out for mercy, conjuring him by God and by himself. And so strange stories like this still emerge from the same region in Yemen. And several years ago, a group of Saudi oil wildcatters were camping in the Rub al-Khali, where there are no villages in this part of the vast sand desert, and the Bedouins only rarely pass through it. And one of the oil workers claimed that at twilight, the team saw a woman moving alone along the crest of a nearby dune. She was draped in black, apparently wearing an abaya like many Saudi women, and was hopping along, appearing to have only one leg. And she disappeared over the crest of the dune. Now, several of the team members went up to the dune to find her, but she'd vanished, seemingly into thin air. And if no humans live in this part of the desert, one of the remotest and most inhospitable in the world, that may not apply to jinn. Jinn may exist there. Now, we've got, 30 seconds left before we go off air. So we're going to quit on the gin there for right now. And I'm going to give you all a couple of instructions because we are going to go off air. We're going to go off air on the radio station. But when we come back up, we will be here just on the YouTube channel and our other visual channels. So I want you all to stick around. Those of you listening on the radio, we're going to say goodnight to you now. You can come and join us on the YouTube channel. Live long and prosper.
Join us every weeknight at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, 10 p.m. Eastern. The Intrepid Radio Program, a Scotty Roberts Productions broadcast.
All right, welcome back, folks. We are now off air over at the radio station. And so we are now in the after show, which we like to affectionately refer to as the captain's cabin. Avast, all my mateys. So let me, for the sake of my friend Momin Saad, I'm going to post the link here again. If you click on that link, Momin, that can bring you in to the chat room and into my show, and we can put you on camera. If you have your camera set up, it's audio and visual. And so whenever you're ready, you can come in and I'll see you pop in down below. So it's going to be a real treat. Perfect send-off on the topic, says Sarah Yusuf. I agree with you. It'll be really something. And I haven't talked to Momin in a couple of years. I think we communicate online, Facebook and Messenger and things like that. But the last time I think we spoke was, it may have been 5 years ago when we spoke together online. And the last time I saw his face was the last time I was in Egypt, which was 2016. And we were at Gebel El Silsila for about a month, which is John and Maria's archaeological site. And Momin was there. And we did some radio broadcasts with him live back here, the Intrepid radio program back then, when John Ward was part of it with me. And so hopefully he can get connected to us. He's over in Luxor, Egypt right now. So this will be a treat. So anyway, I have not, I don't know if I told Momin about this or not. I may have said something to him. I might have to pull up the pictures so I can show him tonight and see what his thoughts are on that. So, hey, Brianna, you just stopped in to say hello and good night. You're going to miss a good after show, Brianna. There he is. Here, folks. I'm going to bring in my friend Momin Saad into the chat room. Momin, how are you, sir?
How are you, brother?
I'm doing very good. It is so good to see your face. I miss you.
I miss you too much.
And here, let me get rid of this banner that is going on right now.
Sorry?
Because I'm going to get rid of this banner. There we go. Now it's just you and me, like this, and everybody listening. So it's good to see you. We were talking for the last few nights about the jinn on this show.
Yes.
And I remember sitting with you on the Dahabeya at Gebel El Silsila, and we were doing radio, and I was asking you about ghosts and things like that, and say, now, you're a scientist, you're an archaeologist, but you're a man of faith as well. And I wanted to ask you, at that time, I was asking what you believed about ghosts and so on, and you gave me some stories. Let me ask you a little bit Well, I want to ask you about the gin, but before we do that, would you take a couple of minutes and tell people what it is you do in Egypt, what your position is?
Nowadays, استني بابا شوي استنى. My daughter.
Yes,
Say hi.
mine come in all the time, so it's
Say hi.
hi. How are
Hey,
you?
say hi. Hi, uncle.
Hello. I remember
Nowadays,
when she
yeah,
was born, I
nowadays,
believe. So
yes, she is now 3 years and a half
three
old.
years.
Yes, three
Nice
years.
to see you.
Thanks. Say bye. Yalla go. Go and sleep. Bye bye. I am nowadays the general director of the Antiquities unit in Luxor Airport. We
Okay.
doing it for the passengers when they are leaving Egypt to make sure that they have just gifts and cadeau from the bazaars, not real antiquities with them.
Hmm.
And we should check some of these items. Before, as you know, I was director of the scientific research department at Karnak,
Yes.
and I did have many positions in the antiquities in Egypt. I did excavate in many parts in Egypt, in North, at Giza, in Red Sea, in Aswan, in Kena, Luxor, East and West, many places in Egypt, as you know, in
Yes.
Eastern Desert, Western Desert. Yeah, many places.
Now, since I have seen you face to face last when I
Yeah.
was in Egypt, you earned your doctorate along the
No,
way.
last time I wasn't have the doctor degree, but
Hmm.
since 2019, I did got the degree
Yes,
as PhD. Yeah,
that's right. Now,
alhamdulillah, finally.
what you do at the airport would be something like, now you see this bust sitting back here?
Yes,
That's a bust that John Ward had made for me in Egypt by some of the artisans down in Luxor of
yeah,
Senenmut. And
yes.
he was carrying that through customs, and they would say, "What is this?" They'd have to question him and look at it because it was so well done. And I had all
That
kinds of little bits and bobs that they stopped me at the airport to make sure I wasn't stealing antiquities.
no, but this is our job. It is not kind. It is not a question of saving or taking antiquities out of Egypt, but we want to make sure that our civilization and the monument didn't leave Egypt by any hidden way or any way,
Right.
and we need to make sure because we suffered enough from taking our monument out of Egypt, and
Yes.
all the museums out of Egypt and the groups or the people having private collection is taking
Yes.
this illegal from Egypt, and we need to stop this because millions and
Yes.
thousands of antiquities is left Egypt already. And since 1981, we by Egyptian law we try to stop all of this activity, and we try to control taking out our Egyptian antiquities out of Egypt. For this, we have in many ports and airports kind of a checkpoint. Have a lot of inspectors have good experience
Hmm.
to make sure that everything is going well and no one try to take antiquities with them.
Yes. Which is very important.
Yeah,
And
people as soon as they understand this, they respect what we are doing.
Yes. And now, the last time I was in Egypt was in 2016. Can you believe it's been that long? Not, yeah,
Yes,
2016, 6 years now.
6 years
And
again.
of
Yeah,
course, I had my big heart attack and the open heart surgery and all of that, which happened all during the time I was supposed to come over there in 2017,
yes.
and couldn't. And then I had all that happen, and so my traveling days got cut a little short for a while.
Yeah.
So I would like to get over there again soon. Um, let's see. Sarah Yusuf in our chat room says what you do is really preservation of your culture.
Yeah.
So, by the way, Moment has also appeared on a couple of TV shows. the Treasure Guardians of Egypt, and
Yes.
National Geographic. John and Maria were there on that show as well, so you could look some of those up and find him. So tell
and
me
with
now.
Discovery
go ahead.
also.
Go
And with
ahead
Discovery
again.
Channel also.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, the first time I ever met Momin, and I've told people about you before on this show. The first time I met you was in 2013. John and I were writing our book, which is sitting here somewhere, right here. This one. John and I were writing. There it is. You're seeing it in stereo, folks. So I believe.
Jin bring it to me.
There it is. The Jin brought it to you. Thank you, Jin. I had a bunch of questions about different sites at Karnak Temple Complex. And John said, Scotty, tell me if I sound like John. Scotty, I have the perfect man for you, Momin Sod. So there's John. And so we met for coffee downtown Luxor in an outside place. And the next day, you met us very early in the day and spent about 6 or 7 hours walking my butt all around Karnak Temple to all these different things I wanted to see. And you said, let me see your list. And I showed you my list, and you walked me everywhere. You spent the whole day with me out there. And that's how I first got to know Momin Sod.
It was a great honor.
It was gracious, an honor for me to have you doing that for me. So now I want to get to the Jin question.
Yes.
These are always touchy kinds of questions to ask, because you could ask anybody of Islamic faith or anybody of Christian faith or Jewish. What do you really believe, or what do you believe about this versus, and so on? And those questions are everywhere. So
yes.
I would ask you, have you ever experienced Jinn? Have you ever experienced anything that you would attribute to Jinn? What's your personal belief about Jinn?
I believe about Jinn is part of our life, and my experience with this, I can't say that I met Jinn on my way, but let's say 3 or 4 times, because it's my scary about the darkness places, as you was talking about this before. Anything is moving behind me or beside me, I'm saying, oh, could be Jinn. Could be something bad. It can attack me in this time or scare me. I can say, for my scare, I hope your people is understanding my language.
Yes.
The scare is creating situation at the moment, and I feel there is something is moving next to me, but in fact there is nothing. But because I have a phobia or I'm scared from something, I'm creating the picture on my mind. But
right.
In fact, I didn't see it face to face. Sometimes I can create the picture in my brain or my mind that there is something big with red eye, clothes is very big. But in fact, no, I didn't see it face to face. I can create it in my image.
We do that over here. There's sometimes I'll be more afraid of the picture in my head than I am of anything that's actually happening. Now, that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It means that I've got my fears and I have to battle my fears about it sometimes.
Yeah, and it can be for adrenaline, as we can say. You can feel that your hair is standing, your body is start to be shaking. This is kind of actions it can say that we have something is around, but I can't see it. Sometimes I feel it when I was working in Mut Temple, south of Karnak.
Mhm.
After the work, when I have my break, like 1 hour, I try to get quick sleep. And when I'm sleeping in Mood Temple, I feel something is putting his arms on my
Oh.
breast and catching my leg. And this has happened for me like 6 or 7 times. And my interpretation about this, because I said, oh, because I'm sleeping in the temple, and this is can be the what has happened, that kind of jinn or evil is start to play
Mhm.
with me.
Mhm.
Yeah, because with this kind of sacred places, we didn't understand it 100%, and because it's no people is living on this, there is no light, darkness all the time. Still have snakes. It still have agriculture. This can make the story of jinn inside our mind.
I understand that.
Yeah.
I do it all the time. Um, I want what's your personal belief about the jinn? Do you believe now, I would say something for me, I would say ghosts. I I believe that they are real entities, that they exist. So if I were to ask you, what do you believe about the jinn personally? Do you believe that they exist? Even though you haven't encountered one, do you believe that they exist?
Yeah, I believe they are with us. They are living. They are part of, of our land. They are sharing
Mhm.
everything with us. And
Sure.
also it's according to my Islamic culture. I
Mhm.
believe that we have ghost, we have jinn, we have shaitan, we have. They are like us. They are
Yes.
growing like us. They have children. They have them life, and they try to take us as shaitan, especially, is to take us to the wrong way, to not believe in Allah, to say that the words
Ah,
of Allah is wrong. There is no paradise, there is no Jannah. All we should go to the hell together if we believe shaitan. For this, we believe there is shaitan, we believe there is jinn, we believe that Allah is punished the shaitan to the end of our life, and we in the other life, when Allah will return everything to him, we believe that shaitan will go to the hell. And
mhm.
as we believe in God, believe in Allah, that if we are fine, we're doing everything good, we will go to the paradise. And if we're doing wrong, sure, we will go to the hell.
Sure.
For this,
Yeah.
I believe that we have jinn, we have shaitan, we have evils everywhere. But I believe that it's not found everywhere, not especially for jinn. It is will not be in clean places like this. It
Mhm.
should be stayed in dark and shade places, in abandonment places that no people is living on it. It's stayed in the desert. That we believe about jinn.
Okay.
Shaitan is everywhere, but for jinn especially, or ghost, no, it have their own places, and we should respect this kind of places. And when we're dealing with desert, with dark places, we should respect them. We
Yes.
should make sure that there is others, they are living with us, and we should respect them. We should say some words to protect ourselves from them. Yeah, because we believe they are like a people. They have
Yeah.
them. I can't find the English word for this, but there is generations of jinn
Okay. Yes,
living with us. I hope you understand me. You can repeat it
I do.
with your language.
I do.
Yeah.
Now, are you referring to the jinn themselves being generations old or several generations, or that for generations you have believed in your culture that they exist? Both, maybe?
Both. Yes. Yes.
Okay. All right. I want to show you a picture that my radio audience is very familiar with. And I just have to see if I can upload it. Otherwise, I'm going to have to share my whole screen with you. Let me see if I can find it here for you, and we'll see how long it. Yeah, I can upload these. So let me do it this way. It's only going to let me do it one at a time, of course. So let me upload these pictures into my
Please.
my catalog here. But this is an experience that I had when John and I, back in 2013, that same trip when I first met you, that we went to Saqqara and saw the stepped pyramid of Djoser. And I was sitting on a stone. John was poking around. There was nobody else there. There were the guardians were there, of course. And I don't know if I ever told you this story. I may have told you this over the years, but I was sitting there and I had what I can only describe as a spiritual vision. I was sitting at the far end of the Hebsed court on a stone, and you know how the ruins are all lined up. They've got blocks and broken bits and pieces, and all of those shrines that have the curved top on them that would line the sides of the Heb court. They have 3 of those reconstructed, I believe, and the rest are crumbled. And so I was sitting in the sun, just sat down to have a cigarette. John was over there somewhere poking around, and everything changed for me in an instant. It was like I blinked my eyes and opened, and the Hebsed court was clear. It was all sand. All these shrines with the curved roofs were all there, reconstructed on both sides. There were long torches, I would say something about 8 feet long, coming out from the tops of these with torches, with flames on them for light. And it was a very low sunset. And I saw a line of priests, which I assumed were priests, bald, bare-chested, white kilting on. They're all carrying trays of things, walking toward me, and they were all chanting. And they got within 20 feet of where I was sitting and turned and moved over toward the shrines.
Yeah.
And then I blinked, and it was, oh, and I could, by the way, I could smell incense. I could feel the breeze. And this whole thing maybe lasted 10 seconds, but I blinked and I was like, what was that? And it's interesting because I took a couple of photographs after that. I went over to one of the little porch areas in front of one of those shrines, and I looked back in the other direction. I took a picture, and then I came down onto the sand and I took another picture that way, and took pictures all around. Now, that was in 2013. About 2.5 to 3 years ago, I was looking through those pictures, and we blew them way up on my computer. And this is what I saw. I want to show you these pictures. Now, these are low resolution pictures. I don't have the high resolution here. I'm going to add this to the stream. Okay. Now, this is the Hebsed court. And off, can you see that, Momin?
Yes. Yes.
Off to the left up here, the stepped pyramid goes up off to the left. So I don't remember what direction this is. I think this is north. I'm not positive of that.
Almost
But I was sitting back here on this particular stone, having a smoke, and I was looking this way. All of this debris was moved, was gone. All these temples were built in full, torches burning. I could smell the incense, feel the breeze. Well, as I'm looking at this picture, with my friend, I'm scanning this way, and over here, right here, if you can see where I'm circling,
Yeah.
there's a figure emerging from behind the stone. It wasn't John. John was wearing his typical tweed suit coat and his hat and his cravat. And this wasn't John. And as I'm looking at it in this photo, I'm thinking, what is it? And I enlarged this, and this is what's coming out from behind the stone, is this picture right here. That's an enlargement of the same thing. And so what I see here is a shoulder. It looks like a bare shoulder, dark skin, an arm coming down, a hand, a waist, and then it fades off. And this is roughly would be, if you look at the other picture, if he's right here, this figure, ground level was right down in here. So this is very high up off the ground. And so I didn't know what that was. And I asked a couple of people on a spiritual level, what do you think that is? And somebody said, I think that's jinn. Now, a year later, remember we were back in 2014 and we had the big tour that we did. You were part of that. You gave some lectures when we had all those people on the boat and we stopped at all the places along the Nile. And that next year we had, remember Chris Conway? He was our Scottish friend that came along. He's a medium, psychic medium. And he said that an ancient man contacted me. Then he said, there's something else. And he looked at this picture after the fact and he said, you may have jinn there. Now, I don't know what you think about that. I don't know if you think we shouldn't be looking at this or even talking about it or what you think, but this is that photo that I've shown the radio audience before. It's not John. It's not any of the Galabea wearing guardians of the site, but I picked this image up and I didn't notice it for 7 years until almost, 6 years later in 2019 was when I first saw this in a picture, an old picture. And I thought, so what are your thoughts? Do you have any thoughts to share on that?
Before you show me the picture, I was thinking that you was united with Sakara and the Hepsed
Yes.
Bart. But really, with this picture, strange picture, strange arm, strange hand with regular fingers.
Yes.
And I'm 100% sure this is not John's hand.
It's not John's hand.
Yeah, completely. No.
So,
and I don't know if this is back of horse and this is a tail of horse. It can be, because there is a lot of horses in this part.
Yes.
And this can be the tail of the horse and part of his back. And I'm believe in it. It can be a horse and the tail of horse.
Right. I don't want to put you on the spot, by the way, and have you tell me it's a jinn or anything like that. But
no, I know. No, I believe there is a jinn. But I didn't believe. I believe jinn is something. Sometimes you can't see it. He can do everything without seeing it. And when he want to be shown, he need you to see him.
Yes.
For
now,
this
was right after. This was within 10 minutes of what I thought was a spiritual vision, which I don't have those. I'm not that. I've never been that way. But I had this vision of these priests. And all, and then this was about 10 minutes later, I took this picture. And by the way, I stepped off of the porch and took another picture in that direction, and there's nobody there. And there was nobody there on the site, just the guardians and John and me. And so it was interesting and intriguing, to say the least. So there you have it. I wanted to show you that. So I'm going to take that out of there now. There we are.
Strange
Just back
picture.
to you. So, the gin was a topic we've been talking about for a few days. We don't have to stick to that. What would you say right now is in Egypt probably the foremost discovery that you can talk about that's being revealed to the public? What's the latest, foremost discovery, the most exciting thing that you think that has happened in discovery of antiquities? The most recent.
The most recently one, which opened by officially by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, the president of Egypt, was Avenue of Sphinx, and I believe this is was a big dream for Egypt to open a antiquities part 3 kilometers between Luxor and the Karnak temple,
Yes.
and was a great festival as Mummy buried.
Now, by the
I-
way, on that, let me describe to people what you're talking about. Folks, I've shown you that picture of John Ward and I walking down the Avenue of Sphinxes towards the gates of Luxor Temple. And I've mentioned that processional way runs in a straight line to Karnak Temple, 3 miles or so down the road. But it's lined on both sides with sphinxes. I don't know the exact side. Don't think of the big, magnificent sphinx at Giza. These are smaller, maybe 8 foot, something like that long, something like that. And they've lined all the way along that processional way. Now, this is what Moment is referring to here, that this is now opened up. They were just starting to work on that when I was there. They only had a little stretch of it in front of Luxor Temple. And so now, are the sphinxes all still there all the way down? And they're what, about 6 feet apart from each other, 8 feet apart from each other for 3 miles?
Yeah.
Are they all still intact? All of the
some of them, the nearest part to Luxor Temple and nearest part to Karnak Temple is still intact in situ. But the rest in the middle of the Avenue of Sphinx is mostly destroyed, because you know that the area between the temples used as quarry, the cutting stones, the reused the blocks of this statue and the pedestal to build some houses. For this, at least for 1,000 years, he destroyed the middle part of Avenue of Sphinx. But as soon as we found the body, we tried to rebuild again pedestal to return the statue above of it. For this, we can say we have 30% of the statue is there, and we're missing the rest.
Okay.
But the excavation, even we opened the Avenue of Sphinx, we still have some excavation near to Karnak Temple.
And of course, everybody listening, all along this avenue, on both sides are modern day buildings, apartment buildings, houses, all down this way. Businesses, I think, are in there. And so it's not like out in the middle of nowhere. It's right down the heart of Luxor on the riverfront. So, and it goes all the way to Karnak temples. So it's extraordinary. I'm glad to hear that's open. It was the Japanese mission that was working on that at one time, wasn't it?
On Avenue of Sphinx?
Yes.
No, in Avenue of Sphinx, completely Egyptian missions.
Oh, it is Egyptian.
Yeah, Egyptian missions working since 1948.
Oh, okay. I was
until now, and I think since 1948 until 1992, excavation was running. Since 1992 until 2005, was no excavation on the site. Then from 2005 until 2011, until the revolution, was was running very well. And after the revolution, we stopped like 6 7 years.
Yeah.
Then in the time of Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, we returned again, and he said we need to do something. And really, he's putting his hand to support the antiquities in Egypt. And for this, we opened the Avenue of Sphinx, and as you saw it as a
Yes.
world opening for
I
it.
I have a photo of you somewhere. You've got a rolled up piece of paper that you were showing some diagrams or something with our group, but you're wearing a red sweater and you're
Yeah.
pointing back at the Avenue of Sphinxes. I've got to find that. You weren't looking at me. You were talking to our tour members, and you were
Your
pointing
group.
back. I got to
Yeah.
find that for you and send you a copy of that. So, um, well, listen, I don't want to take up too much more of your time. What time is it there in Egypt right now?
Now is 5:30 morning.
In the morning. Okay. So
Yeah,
I
but
knew it
one
was
more point
early.
I would like to say about
Yes,
the jinn, and
please.
that's it is not matching with Islamic religion only. It's in other religions. It's in the culture. It's part of the humanity of the world. That every people they have them stories about jinn and evil. It is
Yes.
not only with Islamic part.
Yes.
We
Yes.
took it for Islamic countries like Egypt, like Eastern part. We graduation or not education.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Education is part of what you believe,
Yes.
and high educated people in Egypt maybe 100% cannot believe that there is no jinn
I'm
and
sure.
this. But as soon as you less education, you believe in this too much, and you and sometimes it will be your circle. You can say, "Oh, Jen is touching me," and in this you need to go to the sheikh or Bob in our Egyptian. I'll not say Islamic part, but some can go to the sheikh in masjid or mosque. Some can go to the church if they are Christianity or Muslim. In this, we didn't
Mm-hmm.
say we are Muslim or Christianity. I can go
Sure.
to the Pope in the church to take out of this touch
Sure.
of jinn for me. And I remember we talk about some people they can make kind of celebration. We called it in Arabic word is zar, that people can use the tombs
Mm-hmm.
and making opening them
Yes.
hair, yeah, and start to dancing
Yep.
to get this power out of them,
Mm-hmm.
a kind of offering to the jinn.
Okay. Okay.
I think you remember our talk about this before.
I do. I
And
do.
some of people they can go to the graves to get out of this kind of jinn touch. Yeah, we culture is culture.
Yes. Yeah, I understand that completely.
Yeah,
Um, there were what was I just thinking of? John, something John had said or we had talked about once. Oh, did John ever tell you the story about the Egyptian workers at Gebel el Silsila that one of the men ran back from the hills over by the Spaos of Horemheb? He came
yeah,
running from that direction and to the boat, yelling that he had seen a jinn in the hillside. And he ran down into the front hold of the boat. And within a few minutes, all the other Egyptian workers came back to the boat, went down into the hold, and smoked shisha the rest of the night and wouldn't go back on the land till morning because they had seen a jinn. Did John ever tell you about that?
no, I didn't, but I believe this can be happened because when I'm working with the total station in Jebel Silsila, and then sometimes I need to make maps, as you know, and some plans. I can walk alone.
My little
Hi,
girl. This is Ellery. That's
hi,
Momin
sweetie.
from Egypt. He's talking to us from Egypt. He's a good friend of mine. So you can sit and listen if you want. This is my 7 years old. 7. I hold up 5 fingers.
God,
7.
God bless her. God bless
Thank
her.
you.
Yeah,
And it's
I
late
believe
here, so she's going to
John.
go to bed.
Yeah, I
Say
believe
again.
John because when I was working in Jebel Silsila in the back and the hill, uh, and I found myself is alone. And in
Yes,
some part, I'm going to the dark places or no one there. I can feel scared there.
sure.
Yeah.
I get that. I felt scared. There were times where John had an obsidian. Did you see this? An obsidian black, highly polished mirror.
Yes.
And he wanted to try what's called, I don't know if you know what this word is, scrying. That's where you look into the mirror, you stare into it, and you see if you can see other things in the mirror. And he brought that into the Spas of Horemheb, into the back of the Holy of Holies, and did that. I got to tell you, we did this during broad daylight. It was John and Philippe and me, and we went back in there. John was seeing some things, and I was like, I looked into it and I said, I'm good. And I didn't even want to, because that psychological thing in your mind that says, I don't want to be
Start
scared
playing.
by that right now. And I'm back in a dark area of this shrine and with the statuary and all that. I didn't want to do it. So I understand what you mean. Hey, Rainey,
Some,
could I talk
yeah,
you into coming and
some,
say hi to somebody here? My wife is hot. She has been working all day, but you've never met my wife face to face, Momin. She's going to
yes.
come over here. She's not wearing makeup, and her hair's not brushed, but I've just talked her into coming over and saying hello to you. Rainey, I'll tell you right now, this is talking to Momin Saad over in Egypt. We were talking about jinn. So here's my wife, Rainey. There she is.
Hey, Rani.
That is
Hi,
Momin
how are you?
Saad.
I'm doing well. How are you?
So you've
Very good.
never
Pleasure to
talked
see
to
you.
each other face to face. So I thought,
Yes.
even though she's not prepared for public view, she still came over to say hello.
Right.
Hello.
That's all.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah. Nice to meet you too.
That's all I needed.
All right.
All right.
I'm gonna go back to getting kids to bed.
All right.
All right.
Have fun.
I will.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye
Nice to
bye.
meet you.
Nice to meet you.
All right. So that is my wife, Rainey. So,
Yeah.
um,
Back to your mirror. When I was,
so yeah, we had that story, and John could see things. Even Philippe thought he could see. You remember, you know, Philippe,
yes, Felipe Martinez.
yes, and he saw some things. I didn't want to see anything for some reason. I felt very closed in inside. You know that little shrine, the holy. You could call it the Holy of Holies of the Spas of Horemheb.
Yeah.
And I was back in there, and I was like, I'm not comfortable with this. And so I said, I'm going to go outside. And because I felt that pull. So that's all I was going to say about that. So,
Yeah.
but that was
Since
that same trip where I
yeah.
had you on radio and everything. So,
in Egypt here, when you was a child, they will told you, don't look to the mirror.
oh,
Yeah.
well, what does that mean? When you say that to them, for the same reasons? It's
No, because of kind of to not be united with your reflection in the mirror. And nowadays I'm trying to look to the mirror, and then sometimes I can see my eyes is is moved in the mirror, and I didn't moved it, and this is
That's
happening.
yeah, that's scrying. That's um, what they call it. Scrying is that you stare into that mirror and you see different things, and
Yeah.
the things can change around you in the background. You can
Yes.
probably see jinn if you're in the right place for them, and so it's all about concentrating on what you're looking at. And mirrors are also said to be gateways or portals for the
Yeah.
spirit world if you're not careful. So,
I have one of my British friend called Catherine. She loved to take pictures all the time, and one time she was taking a picture on the holy places like Abu Hajjaj, other places like
mhm,
this. And you know that we have like what do you call it, private grave inside,
mhm,
as a tomb inside
yeah,
the mosque. And she took many pictures, and in these pictures
mhm,
she showed to me that there is many spots above this what you call it, simula I
oh,
can't find the
spots
word.
on the pictures,
Yeah,
like
spots in the pictures.
orbs, they call them
Yeah,
orbs. Yeah,
yeah. And
little
she said
balls
to
of light.
me, yeah, this is holy people is living and in this
Ah,
place. She believe in this, and I respect what she said. I can't
yes,
do any objection because it's something we didn't have a good background about it. We didn't have
hmm,
good information about it. Anything like this, I will take it with respect, and maybe I can think about it or I can ignore it completely. But anyway, I
yes.
should respect it.
I took a picture in England once at Portchester Castle, um, and we got some of those orbs in the picture. And sometimes it's dust in the air, sometimes it's water, moisture in the air, but sometimes you pick something up there. And so I saw it in this picture, and I blew it up, and we saw the profile, the side face of a monk, a religious monk, and he had the little ringlet of hair on top and a big cowl collar, and we found out the next day that that castle was supposed to have been haunted by the ghost of an old monk for about 900 years, they say. So orbs can be questionable. Sometimes I've seen them sometimes to be very real. So yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
we still believe in magic. We still believe this
yes.
is, yeah, a lot.
Yeah. Well,
And you know
here's what
there
we're
is a
going to
lot of
do. Go ahead.
there is a lot of people is coming to visit Egypt from all over
Yes.
the world to
Yeah.
visit temples because they still believe in similar this kind of things to see it in Egypt. They believe in
Hmm.
goddess Hathor. They believe in Amun. They believe in Ra. They,
Right.
they believe in other Egyptian gods. Yeah,
Yes.
this is similar.
Yeah. By the way, somebody asked a question in the chat room.
Please.
June Shasta, she asked a question about the Sphinx at the Giza Plateau. What is all this talk about something buried beneath one of its paws or secret tunnels underneath? I know Zahi Hawass had done some stuff with that. And what do you know? Anything, any secrets you can give us? Something under the paw of the Sphinx?
This question is coming after they said the Sphinx is closed his eyes for a second.
Ah,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. Was bad camera takes the shot for the Sphinx.
Yeah.
and underneath the Sphinx, there is, as we can say, lake of water, because the dewatering level is too much in this area. And yes, we have part of like a tunnel or something like this. It's full of water, and the conservation work is working all the time. And exactly the secrets of the Sphinx, it is not what we have behind him or underneath him. The Sphinx is itself, it's big legend, and until now we can't say who built it, who is owned the Sphinx. Is Khufu or Khafra, or it's built before the fourth dynasty, before the old kingdom, or it came later. But there is a lot of stories behind Sphinx,
Sure.
the Great Sphinx. But yeah, until now there is no big secrets to can talk about it. But a lot of propaganda we can use about it. We can talk
Sure.
about yeah, it's kind of propaganda, not more than this.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
I understand. That's a fair answer. I'll go with that. So, unless you have anything else you'd like to share with us, I think I won't take much more of your morning up, your early morning. And we've got to bring this show to a close pretty soon. But, Moment, you don't know how wonderful it feels to see you, to have you agree to come on and to talk with us. I appreciate your time. I respect what you bring to the table, and you're my good friend. I love you in my heart, and I look forward to the time I can see you again, face to face.
Inshallah, it's a great honor to be
Inshallah.
with you, and I'm very happy to meet you and share the screen with you. This is a great honor for me. And the last thing I would like to say to the people who follow us, يعني be tuned, as they said, and the opening of the Egyptian Grand Museum is closed,
Yes.
and inshallah will be very soon. And I hope this will be a gift to the world.
Oh,
It will
absolutely.
be a large museum in the world. It will have the secrets of Egyptian culture. It will have the group of Tutankhamun collection. All the collection of Tutankhamun will be in one place for the first time.
Oh, my.
Statues everywhere. You will not close your eyes when you
Yes.
visit Grand Egyptian Museum, Jim.
Well, I will have to come and see that again soon. I want to get out to Gebel El Silsila again, and also to Cairo again. I want to see the museum, and so hopefully within the next year I can pull that off. So we'll see what happens.
Looking to see you and on the table with John and Maria and the rest of our Jabal Silsila team as soon as possible.
Yes,
Thank you very
inshallah.
much. It was a great opportunity to be with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Momin. I appreciate it, and I'll talk to you again soon, my friend.
Inshallah. Have a nice day, and thanks to all the followers. Bye bye.
All right. Bye bye. All right, folks. There you have it. That was my friend Momin Saad, who I've mentioned on the show a couple of times. What an awesome thing that I didn't expect to see him in the chat room. He took me by surprise. And if you could see the emotion from me, seeing him there was like, oh my goodness. And then he came in. So that was wonderful. Thank you, sir. I told him we should get together. I should have you on the show. And she said, why don't you see if he wants to call in right now? And he did. For as early as it was there, I think we started about 4 a.m. with him. Something 4:30 in the morning. It's about 5:30 now. So, well, no, 5:49 in the morning there. Tomorrow. So that was wonderful. I enjoyed that. I hope you all enjoyed that. And at that, I think we're going to draw this to a close for tonight. I appreciate everybody. I appreciate the fact that you've been here, that you got to meet my friend Momin Saad, that you stick out this show and you're the friends of this show. I appreciate that very much. And so with that, let's call it a night. So everybody, live long and prosper.
Join us every weeknight at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, 10 p.m. Eastern. The Intrepid Radio Program, a Scotty Roberts Productions broadcast.